Feeling the wind rush past her, Valesandria urged her horse to move faster. Valesandria couldn't believe that the Empire was making them move so quickly. Considering the rapid approach of the next overflow taking place in the next couple of years, the various powers need to prepare to fight off the overflow, which will take a massive amounts of manpower and resources. To start a war between the kingdom and empire would be tantamount to suicide, where no one ends up a winner. She remembered the last overflow that occurred when she was a little girl. Just like any girl, Valesandria was playing with her dolls, pretending to live in a palace with her Prince Charming. The other children often made fun of her, telling her that she was ugly and what prince would ever want her. As the other kids were laughing at her, the sky turned scarlet as if the sky was bleeding. For the next couple of days, the villagers were all scrambling around, scaring her because no one was explaining what was happening. To this day, Valesandria still remembered the screams as monsters and demons ate villagers. They came, like a flood, invading the village and eating everyone. Suddenly, she was lifted up by her mother and taken to a hole that was created under the house. Looking up at her mother, as she was lowered down, Valesandria still recalls her mother's face as she said, "My beautiful little girl, Mommy will always love you. Remember to live a happy life and meet someone special. Mommy is sorry that she can't come with you, but she will always be watching over her special girl." The next thing she remembered is being draped in darkness and the screaming of her mother. "Lady Knight, we will be approaching Leaf Village in a matter of minutes. With the forces we've gathered, many of them students at the academy, I don't know how much we'll be able to help, aside from assisting in the evacuation." William, her second in the disciplinary committee at the academy, said. Pulling out of her thoughts, she looked back at William and yelled, "We can at least buy the village precious time to escape from the forces sent by the Empire. Why do we receive such training and benefits if not to lay down our lives for those unable to protect themselves? Now stop talking, unless you want to bite your tongue." William's expression looked grim as he thought about the task ahead of them. All of the trainees understood the likelihood of them surviving this encounter, considering how there were barely 200 of them. Valesandria cursed at how cowardly and indecisive the upper nobility was. When everyone learned that the Empire was invading them with a massive force, the nobles immediately thought of how to protect themselves. Even after learning that the Empire was on a heading towards Leaf Village, a decently sized village, none of the nobles thought about the protection of the commoners living there. When Valesandria learned of this invasion force, she tried to convince the student council president to send help to the village. The academy was meant to be a neutral power within the kingdom, a place where both commoners and nobles were allowed to learn as long as they had the ability. If compared to the size of the population in the capital, the academy would be about half the size. With all the departments that existed in this one location, they were able to be relatively self-sustaining. This practical experience allowed students to prepare themselves for working in the real world. Knights that trained at the academy were often some of the best knights in the kingdom, even being able to join the king's personal forces. Seeing that the academy wasn't going to do anything, Valesandria gathered as many knights as possible and dashed towards Leaf Village. Regardless of how many enemy soldiers there were, she would not abandon Leaf. Off in the distance, she could see a huge sea of flames in front of the village. Did the Empire already reach Leaf Village and begun firing magic at it? "Pick up the pace! It looks like the Empire has reached the village. When we reach the village, Instead of engaging enemy forces, we will help the residents with evacuating. Remember, we are Knights of the Academy, she yelled, trying to motivate those following her. Whoa! Her classmates behind her cheered. Changing directions to head towards the entrance, facing away from the attack, they increased the pace of their mounts. A part of her was worried about whether the mounts would be able to continue. Though mounts that were raised at the academy were known for their high stamina, seeing residents fleeing willed herself to move faster. There were guards who were assisting people with loading belongings onto wagons. Reaching them, she quickly dismounted and approached a guard who looked like he had authority. I am Valsandria, the Lady Knight of Illumin Academic City. We have come to assist in the evacuation of the village. If possible, I would like a report of the current situation, so that I can properly distribute those who came with me. Initially, the guard looked annoyed at being interrupted, but after Valsandria had introduced herself, his expression brightened. From the look of things, the guards desperately need help. Ma'am, we have successfully evacuated about a quarter of the village population. There are many businesses located here, and the various owners are keen on bringing along as many of their wares as possible. This is taking up many of the guards who could be assigned to different tasks, the guard said, feeling frustrated by the short-sightedness of people, especially merchants who are more worried about their profits. What about the attack by the Empire forces? How many casualties were there? Valsandria asked the guard. I don't know about such attacks. I am constantly getting conflicting reports about the enemy forces, and none of the people I've sent out to confirm these reports have come back, he answered. How could you not know about that? We saw a sea of fire in front of the village as we were coming here, she exclaimed. Turning to William, she ordered, While I check on the status of the attack, I want you to begin assisting the villagers and getting them out of here. Do not, under no circumstance, support those foolish merchants. We are not here to help them save their inventory. Seeing William salute her in acknowledgement, Valsandria headed out to where the attacks were seen. As she traveled through the street, she saw many people fleeing towards where everyone else was. The only problem was that she didn't see any damage done to the buildings. With the intensity of those spells, she would have thought that some of the houses would be on fire. Nothing was adding up, and this made her nervous. The size of the village made it so that it took quite some time to get to where she needed to be. Reaching the entrance into the village, Valsandria pulled on the reins to make the horse stop. Off in the distance, she saw thousands of bodies, all belonging to enemy soldiers. Feeling confused, she had the horse start moving slowly. It wasn't until she was closer did she notice a group of people walking back towards her. Waiting for them to approach her, she observed these people. When they got closer, she saw a man that looked to be about her age and several women with him. On closer observations, the man had dark hair and a face that many would consider attractive. The women were definitely beautiful. One of them had long brown hair with an oval face. Her body would be described as voluptuous, the kind that men would find desirable. Next to her was a woman with white hair and what many would think a succubus would look like, enticing men while they slept and invading their dreams. The way she walked indicated that she was someone who knew how to fight. Her outfit, similar to the others, was very revealing. Next to the white-haired woman was a very innocent-looking woman with reddish hair. She looked comparably younger, like someone's younger sister. Her face was heart-shaped and gave the feeling of someone you would want to take home and introduced to your parents. Though she didn't give off that sensual feeling, like the other two, she did seem to fit with them. Identify yourselves, she commanded them. It was suspicious that people were walking away from several thousand corpses, looking like they were going for a stroll. The man smiled at her, looking very childish, and asked, "Is it not impolite to demand the identity of someone else before introducing yourself?" Though he looked like someone of similar age, he felt like someone that had authority the way he carried himself. Blushing in embarrassment, Valisandra said, "I am Valisandra, Lady Knight of Illumined Academic City. My forces and I have come in response to reports that the Empire was invading the kingdom. Now, who are you all? And what happened here?" Her tone conveyed her annoyance at not being given the information she requested. "I am Han, and these are my companions. You no longer need to worry about the invading soldiers. Now, you mentioned an academic city?" the man said, sounding intrigued. "What do you mean that I don't need to worry about the soldiers? Where did they go? Did they change directions and head to another town or village?" she demanded. "As you can see, these are the men that you are talking about," the man called Han informed her, as if this was such an obvious thing. "Now, I am feeling a little tired, so if you still have any questions, you may ask me at the location I am staying. We are staying at the fancy-looking inn here, so just ask the lady at the counter where we are, and I'm sure that she will guide you." Out of nowhere, a carriage suddenly appeared next to her, giving her a fright, especially the dragon that was pulling it. It was so silent with how it moved, so she didn't notice it until it had passed her. The man and his companions entered into the carriage, and the reddish-haired woman glanced at her before entering and closing the door. She watched as the dragon circled back and headed towards the village. Han. Valisandra said his name, before heading back to the village to let her classmates know of the situation. As Han reached the third floor, Tom's family and Ellis were waiting for him. They rushed towards him and began shooting out questions. "My lord, what is happening? The village is in an uproar, and the hotel staff advised us to evacuate. When we talked to Ellis, she told us that you told her everything was all right." Tom sounded worried about the situation. When he saw Han, Tom visibly relaxed now that he would find out what was happening. "There's nothing to worry about. Everything has been handled, so you can just go back to your room," Han told them. "Based on some events, I may be checking out other parts of the kingdom. Though our time has been short, I have enjoyed traveling with you. Hopefully, our paths will cross in the future," he informed Tom and his family. Thinking about a city that is dedicated to academics, Han thought it might be interesting to visit. Tom's family looked a little down, but they didn't argue with his decision. Considering their only connection was due to Han rescuing them, they likely understood that this would eventually have happened. Han looked at Ellis and asked, "If you're still interested, you are welcome to still travel with me." The only reason why Ellis was with them was because Han had invited her to go with them and leave that lackluster village. Ellis bowed her head and answered, "My lord, I'm very appreciative of all you've done for me, but I will be declining your offer. I talked with Molly, and I will be helping out at their business. This would have never happened if you didn't give me a hand, so I'm very grateful." There's no reason for you to feel thankful to me. I am glad that you have found something to chase towards, Han told her. Lifting his hand, he made a necklace appear that had a pendant with a star in the center. Giving the necklace over to her, he said, "If you ever need to reach me, just hold on to that pendant and you'll be able to talk to me." Visibly tearing up, Ellis replied, "Thank you, my lord. I will cherish this present." Queen, I want you to assign one of your creatures to look after her while hiding in the shadows. Have it report to you if anything suspicious happens around her. He commanded Queen. Though she had the pendant, there would be times where she may not be able to react in time. Han didn't like the idea of just leaving her behind after taking her out of her village. This amount of help is more than enough, which eased his conscience. Leaving them behind, he headed to his room, followed by Helania, Queen, Brittany, and Cindy and Mindy. Since Ellis was no longer traveling with them, Cindy and Mindy returned to their original duties. Once he was inside, he looked at Cindy and Mindy and said, "The two of you can return to the stronghold and resume your original tasks." Considering he already had Brittany with him, he didn't see the need to have more people with him. The two of them bowed their head in acknowledgement and transported themselves. Sitting on one of the chairs in the room, Han faced the girls and said, "I am predicting that the Lady Knight will be here soon," after talking with her men. "Since we do not have a predetermined destination, I thought it would be interesting to head to this academic city she mentioned." "Master, what will we be doing at this academic city?" Brittany asked him, looking confused. Han pondered this for a couple of moments and replied, "We will have to see. From my memories, these types of locations should hold a lot of information about this world. Also, looking at the various tools that we have seen, I think it is likely that we will see some more interesting things. Maybe I will try pretending to be a student and see what that life is like." "Will you want us to return to the stronghold?" Helania asked, looking anxious. Laughing, Han said, "How could I leave my beautiful girls and run off to someplace else?" It was adorable how they were worried he was going to run off by himself. The three of them relaxed once Han had let them know that they would be coming along on this journey. Depending on how the Lady Knight answered his questions, he would go about things differently. Han spent the next hour just relaxing on the bed, contemplating varying ideas going through his mind when there was a knock on his door. Brittany went to the door to see who it was and said, "Master, the Lady Knight is here for you." He gave a nod of his head, indicating to her that she should let the guest in. Even though she was the one that sought them out, the air she gave off was someone with a large pride without any embarrassment of interrupting their activities. Considering he had anticipated this, he didn't give it much thought and signaled for her to have a seat. Instead of getting up, he continued to lay with his back against the headboard. "I have come to request that you provide me the information that I sought after earlier," Valisandria demanded.